Hello, students. Let's keep going. This is lesson 3, practice. And this is the second video. So hopefully you've already seen video 1 and you're now watching video 2. The problem says, brown rice costs $2 per pound and beans cost $1.60 per pound. Lynn has $10 to spend on these items to make a large meal of beans and rice for a potluck dinner. Let B be the number of pounds of beans Lynn buys, and let R be the number of pounds of rice she buys when she spends all her money on this meal. Okay, the first thing I do when I read a problem, if they've told me any variables, I make sure to write that down immediately. B equals pounds of beans. Pounds of beans. R equals pounds of rice. Okay, I'm just going to circle on my paper, oops, not that one, the cost of brown rice per pound and the cost of beans per pound. I'll highlight it. If you have your paper, you can circle the given information to make it easy to find again. If you're taking notes in a notebook, then write that down. Remember also, she has $10 to spend. Okay, question A. Write an equation relating the two variables. Well, by now, you must be pretty good at this. But they're not even helping you. They just said write an equation relating the two variables. So you have to know your two variables are B, pounds of beans, and R, pounds of rice. How are they related in this problem? Well, she only has $10 to spend. So they are related by that the combined price can only equal up to $10. I can't find my favorite pen. Darn it. Here we go. This one then. So the total price of her items cannot exceed $10. That's the relationship between the pounds of beans she can buy and the pounds of rice she can buy. Okay, rice is $2 per pound. And if you multiply that by the pounds of rice that she buys, that would give the cost that she spends on rice. Add that to the cost that she spends on beans, which are $1.60 a pound times B, the pounds of beans. These two costs cannot exceed $10, and she wants to spend all $10. So here is the relationship. When you type this in, let's see. It says, write the equation using the Weir's editor button. I don't think you need to because there are no fractions or exponents. Just type it in. $10 equals $2 per pound of rice plus $1.60 per pound of beans, and submit your answer. Go to the next problem. The directions say, rearrange the equation so B is the independent variable. You have to remember that independent variable means the input. Independent variable means it's going to be the input in the equation. So B is the input, then R is going to be the output. When you write an equation, the output or dependent variable comes first. So we're using two names back and forth. We were saying input, output. Right? Remember when we did input-output diagrams, the independent variable was the input and the dependent variable was the output. But now we're just going to say independent variable and dependent variable. Anyway, so R is the dependent variable. So you know your equation is going to start with R equals, because it depends on how many pounds of beans you buy. Let me show you how to rearrange the equation. Start with the equation we had in part A. 10 equals 2r plus 1.6b. Now we want to rearrange this so that we can say r equals blah, 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 blah. And that means we need to isolate the r because r is going to be the dependent variable. So we need to isolate the r so that we can get r as an output. Okay, let me just get to it now. You'll see what to do. So I'm going to move this 1.6b term to the other side of the equation by subtracting it from both sides. Then I get 10 minus 1.6b equals 2r. Now I still need to isolate the r, so I'm dividing both sides by 2. When you divide the left side, you have two terms here. Both of them get divided by 2. So that's 10 divided by 2, which is 5, minus 1.6 divided by 2, which is 0.8, b, equals, and then 2r divided by 2 is just r. Here is my equation, but it's written backwards because it says 5 minus 0.8b equals r. It's more comfortable to put the r first. R equals 5 minus 0.8b. Now, r is the output for the dependent variable. B is the input. If you know B, if you know how many pounds of beans you will buy, then you input that into the equation in order to figure out how many pounds of rice you can buy. So then we say the pounds of rice depends on how many pounds of beans you bought. It's the dependent variable. The pounds of beans is independent. It doesn't depend on anything else. It's just what it is. Okay, if that wasn't confusing enough, don't worry. I'm going to do the next one for you. First, let me put in my answer. The pounds of rice equals 5 minus 0.8 b. Type in your equation perfectly and submit it. Go to the next problem. Now it says, and read carefully, rearrange the equation so r is the independent variable. Wait a second, I just did that. Oh, I did it backwards. Oh man, you really have to read carefully. This one said rearrange the equation so b is the independent variable, but I did r. Dun dun. I needed to isolate the b, not isolate the r. Well, I have to do it backwards on my paper. Sorry. Make sure, whatever. If you did it backwards too, you don't worry. Anyway, let's do b next. So I'm just going to change that. Now we're going to isolate b. Start with the original equation. And I'm going to isolate b so that the pounds of beans we buy is the... Oh, I didn't do it backwards. I always get independence and dependence. Okay, wait. It says b is the independent variable. Yes, I did that. Here is the independent variable, the input. Now, I want r to be the independent variable, so I have to isolate b. Let me say that again so you can figure out how I get this all confused. I want r to be the independent variable, just like it said, r. I love x and y, it's less confusing. Anyway, r is going to be the independent variable, so I have to isolate the b. b equals dependent. I have to isolate the b. Whatever the dependent variable is, that's the one you get all by itself. Okay, so b is the dependent variable. I need to get b all by itself. I'm going to isolate the b. Phew. So I'm going to move the 2r to the other side of the equation. I get 10 minus 2r equals 1.6b. Do you notice that I did that without showing the intermediate step right here? I didn't show you this time, minus 2r, minus 2r. By now, you should be getting good enough at this that you don't have to show that step anymore. You just move it over. 10 minus 2r equals 1.6b. And now I need to isolate the b. So I have to divide everything by 1.6. I'll show you that. But in the future, your teachers are not going to keep showing you that. You have to just know that. So 10 divided by 1.6 is a job for a calculator. I just had my calculator. There it is. Okay. 10 divided by 1.6 equals 6.25. So 10 divided by 1.6 is 6.25. And then negative 2 divided by 1.6 equals negative 1.25. And don't forget there's an r. That was an r term. So you have to keep that r. And that equals 1.6 divided by 1.6 cancels out. It equals b. So here I have isolated the b. If you know how many pounds of rice you're going to buy, it's easy to calculate how many pounds of beans you can buy with the remaining money. I'll go ahead and type in my answer. My equation is b equals, notice that I'm turning it around, but I have to keep this negative and I have to keep this positive. B equals 6.25 minus 1.25r. During remote learning, I'm happy to show you all of the work, but you're not actually going to learn anything unless you're doing it yourself. So make sure that you're working it on these worksheets and doing the steps yourself, or that you're keeping a math notebook and following along. I don't want you to get to high school next year and be really confused when the teacher expects you to know what to do. So really do it yourself while you watch me. Solve each equation and check your answer. You know what? Wouldn't it be fun just to put these into Desmos and get the answer? And yesterday, a student showed me that she could take a picture on her phone and it'll give the answer. Okay, so let's solve this equation by hand. The first thing we need to do is eliminate the parentheses. Come on in, I'm just videoing. I can't talk right now. Nice to see you. That's okay, yeah, see you around. Okay, eliminate the parentheses. We have parentheses here and here. And I noticed that there's a 3 divided by 6. That's the same as 1/2. So I'm going to rearrange this, or eliminate parentheses anyway. I get 2x, that stays the same, plus 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8x equals, I'm not going to eliminate the parentheses because I noticed I have 3 divided by 6, and that's 1/2. So that's actually 1/2 2x plus 2 in parentheses plus 4. Now I see that I just need to divide these terms by 2. So 2x plus 12 minus 8x, that stayed the same. Now 1/2 of 2x is just x. 1/2 of 2 is just 1, and then plus 4. Okay, I eliminated parentheses. Now combine like terms. And I'm going to combine these x terms all together at once. Here's an x, x, x. If I put them all on one side, I see that's 2x minus 8x minus x, because this is a subtract x from both sides. And I'm going to combine the constant terms at once. There's a 12 and a 4. So I would actually subtract 12 from both sides. And I get 4 minus 12. When you move the terms to one side or the other, this is what you'll get. Variable terms on one side, constant terms on the other. If you're still not good at this, you need to study more on your own. Look up solving equations with one variable. You can practice this in Khan Academy too. Anyway, combine these. 2x minus 8x minus x is minus 7x. And that equals 4 minus 12 is negative 8. Now divide and you get x equals negative 8 over negative 7, which equals 8/7. Let me see if I got it right. I might have made a mistake. You never know. Ooh, I made a mistake somewhere. Where do you think my mistake is? Do I have to start over? Well, students are coming. I think I better stop the video here. I will make video 3 when I find my mistake. Okay, so you need to stop this here, enter your other answers. Anyway, go find video 3. I will find my mistake and start the next video.